Hi everyone. I thought that today, instead of a craft, I would teach a life skill. This is a life skill that I learned when I was in kindergarten or preschool or so. So it's perfect for kids who are reading and enjoying my books. And to do this life skill, you need a needle. Here's my needle. You need some thread. I'm going to use black thread, but you can use any color you want. And you need something that has lost a button, because what we are going to do today is learn how to sew on a button. Now you're also going to need scissors to cut the thread, and you can get a grown-up to help you with the cutting parts. And you're going to need a button to sew on. Maybe that's the button that fell off the item of clothing that you're sewing it back onto, or maybe you've lost that button and you have to use a different button, and that's okay. You can use any button you like as long as it fits through the buttonhole. And you're going to need some patience. And this is the most important part. Be patient with yourself. Threading a needle is tricky, and some of the other steps are a little tricky, but that's okay. You can do it. Just take a deep breath. If it doesn't work the first time, and let the deep breath out. And try again, and don't give up. So the first thing you need to do once you have your needle and your thread is you need to thread the needle. Now, if you look at the needle, there's a sharp tip, whoa, and then there's a rounded tip with a hole in it, and that hole is called the eye of the needle. So what you need to do is you need to take your thread and you need to very carefully poke the end of your thread through the eye of the needle, like that. There you go, you've threaded the needle. Now we're going to take the ends and match them up so they're even, because we want to tie a knot in this end so the needle doesn't come off the thread. That will hold the needle in place. And also this doubling of the thread will make it so that there's a double layer of thread every time you pass the needle through the fabric and through the holes in the button when you sew the button on. So this is how you make a knot in the thread. You take that end and you put the end against the needle around the middle, and you use your finger to hold that end in place. And with your other hand, you wrap it around the needle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wraps. And you don't pull super tight, but pull fairly tight. And then you put your other finger behind all those wraps, so it's holding all those wraps. And with your thumb, you hold those wraps together. So I'm holding the needle between my thumb and my middle finger on one hand, and I was holding it with my pointer finger. And then once I finished wrapping, I took my other pointer finger to hold the wrapping, and I'm using my thumb to hold the other side of the wrapping against my pointer finger like that. And now I'm going to slide that wrapping down the length of the needle and down the thread all the way to the bottom, and then I'm going to pinch with my thumbnail against my pointer finger. I'm pinching it down so it's made a snarl. And that snarl is the knot, and that holds the needle in place, and it will also hold the thread in place and stop the thread from pulling all the way through the fabric when I sew the button on. Okay, so I have my shirt that lost a button, and I can see where it lost the button from right there. See that? Now I don't have the button that fell off. I had it, but then I lost track of it. And so I'm getting a different button this time just for now, and that's okay. If I find the other button, I can snip the threads and replace it. So the first thing you do is you see where you need to sew the button on, and I'm going to put my pointer finger on top of that spot just to mark it, and I'm going to go to the back, and I'm going to use my thumb to feel through the fabric where I think that spot is, where the button was. And I'm going to just lay the needle there and then move my pointer finger away so there's a gap, so there's nothing on that side of the fabric, and poke the needle through. Okay? So I'll do that again. There's the spot. I'm feeling with my thumb, and I think it's about there. So I'm moving my fingers out of the way now and putting the needle there and poking the needle through. Okay? And then you pull the needle through, and that snarly knot that we made is stopping the needle from coming all the way through. Then you take the button and you put the needle through one of the holes like that, and hold the needle and let the button fall down. Now I'm holding this. I've made a pincher with my top two fingers, my pointy finger and my middle finger. I made a pincher with those, and I'm pinching the top of the fabric, and I'm making another pincher with my ring finger and my pinky finger and my thumb, and with those I'm holding the fabric beneath the button. So I'm holding the fabric above the button with this pincher, and beneath the button with this pincher. And there's my button, lying right where it needs to be, right there. And I want to spin the button so the holes, because this hole where the thread came through is to the left of where the button was, so I want the other holes to go to the right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an X. So I'm going to put the needle down through the top right hole, and I'm going to, there it is beneath, pull it down, and then now if I put my finger on the button, on the lip of the button, I can hold it out, turn it over, and I can poke around with the needle until I find a place where the needle pokes through. And there's a hole. I can put it up through that hole. And now I make the other side of the X down through the bottom hole that doesn't have thread going out through it yet. Like that. And now I'm gently poking, whoop, that was in the wrong place. I'm gently poking around with my needle. Whoop, that's not the right place. There's the right place. See, it's okay if you poke your needle up in the wrong place. You can just pull it back down again. And my needle comes up, and I go across to make an X, and my needle goes down like that. And then I'm poking and I'm feeling the hard button. So I know, oh, that's where I just put the needle down. So if I come towards myself, I find the hole where I want the needle to come up again. And then I put it back down again. And you can do that a few times. You can do that 3 times or 5 times, however many times you need to do it so that you feel that the button is secure. Okay, now I've sewn on my button, and what I need to do is make a knot and cut the thread. So I have the thread coming out of the fabric here, and I'm going to just put my needle beneath the fabric, beneath just a couple threads like that. And I'm going to push it through, but I'm not going to pull it through all the way. I'm going to leave a loop of thread. Do you see that loop of thread? I'm pulling the needle through, so the needle is through, but all the thread is not. And now I'm putting the back of the needle back through that loop. I'll hold my finger here. So there's the loop. and I'm putting the back of the needle back through that loop, and I'm going to pull it through the loop. So what I did was I tied a knot in the thread. Oh, you can hear my kids in the background. They're doing school at home too. And then I do that again. Put the needle through, leave a loop, push the end of the needle back through the loop, and pull it all the way through the back. And I'm going to do that a total of 3 times to make sure that my knot is extra secure. There's the loop, and it's going back through the loop. There we go, tight. And now I'm done. So now I just cut the thread, and I put my needle away, and I have a button. Ta-da! Thank you for joining me and sewing buttons with me. I hope that was fun for you, and I hope that you enjoy sewing buttons yourself. When I was small, my mother gave me a scrap of fabric and a tin of buttons, and she let me sew as many buttons as I wanted onto that scrap of fabric because it was an activity that I found enjoyable, and so maybe it will be an activity that you find enjoyable too. And I hope you have a great day. And if you want more crafts and more activities, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Bye!